Quick question. Which D&D class do you think caused actual religious panic in the 1970s? Not the Warlock, not anything demon-themed, the Druid. The class built around trees, animals, and balance was introduced in the same 60-page rulebook that brought demon lords into the game. And by the end of this video, you'll know why that pairing wasn't a coincidence. Why Druids originally couldn't wear metal armor for a genuinely strange in-world reason, and why one specific real historian's writings are baked directly into how the class works today. Let's get into it. The Druid takes its name directly from the real pre-Christian Celtic priesthood. The Druids described in ancient Roman accounts, most famously Julius Caesar's own writing about Gaul. Caesar described Druids as a powerful class of religious leaders who mediated between the human and natural worlds, oversaw sacrifice and ritual, and held enormous social influence. D&D's Druid pulls its nature worship and neutral, balance-focused philosophy straight from those historical accounts. One detail is genuinely accurate to the source material. Real Druids were closely associated with sacred trees and groves, and D&D's earliest Druids leaned hard into that same tree and grove reverence. One thing the game conspicuously leaves out, though: historical accounts of Druidic ritual reference practices that were considerably darker than anything you'll find on a Druid's spell list. Here's the part that surprises people. The Druid is one of the oldest classes in D&D, period. It first showed up as an NPC-only concept in the 1975 Greyhawk supplement, created by a game designer named Dennis Suster, who was drawing directly on Celtic mythology and those same Roman historical accounts. But the Druid became an actual playable class in 1976, in a supplement called Eldritch Wizardry, the same 60-page book that introduced psionics, artifacts like the Deck of Many Things, and demon lords, Orcus and Demogorgon to the game. That book, released the same year, is widely considered the moment D&D first attracted serious public backlash and satanic panic era religious controversy. So the Druid, a class about environmental balance and nature worship, was literally born in the same publication that kicked off decades of moral panic about the game. Not because of the Druid itself, but because it launched alongside demons and the game's first flirtation with genuinely dark occult imagery. The Druid became a core, standalone class not long after, appearing in the original player's handbook as one of only 5 subclasses available at launch, meaning it's been part of the game continuously since nearly the very beginning, older than classes many players assume are classic, like the sorcerer or bard equivalents of later editions. 1. In the earliest editions, Druids were banned from wearing metal armor or using most metal weapons at all. The in-world justification tied back to their nature worship philosophy. Metal was considered a product of civilization and industry, something fundamentally opposed to what a Druid stood for. That restriction has survived, in modified form, into modern editions. 2. Druids were required to be true neutral in alignment for decades. Not any neutral, specifically balanced between good and evil, law and chaos. The idea was that a Druid's entire role was to protect the natural order itself, not take sides in moral conflicts the way a paladin or cleric would. That strict alignment lock has since been relaxed, but it shaped decades of how the class was roleplayed. 3. Early Druids had a genuinely bizarre career ceiling. To advance past a certain level, a Druid had to literally challenge a higher-ranking Druid to ritual combat and win. There was a hard cap on how many Archdruids could exist in a given region at once, meaning advancement wasn't just about experience points. It was about defeating your way up a hierarchy with a fixed number of open seats. Nothing else in the game worked quite like it. The ability to transform into animals is the Druid's defining modern feature, but it wasn't always as simple as it is now. In early editions, shape-shifting was heavily restricted and often came with real drawbacks. Some versions locked you out of casting spells while transformed, or limited you to only a handful of specific animal forms you had to select ahead of time rather than choosing freely in the moment. The version of Wild Shape most players know today, quick, flexible, usable multiple times per short rest, is a considerably more recent streamlining. And one often missed detail: certain Druid subclasses that focus specifically on combat transformations, letting you turn into more dangerous beasts than a standard Druid can, were added well after the base class existed, meaning the combat shapeshifter Druid archetype so many players default to today wasn't actually part of the original design. So next time someone picks a Druid, remember, they're playing one of the oldest classes in the game, drawn from real Roman accounts of Celtic priests, born in the same book that got D&D labeled dangerous by parents groups in the 1970s. Which class do you want next? Drop it below. I'm working through requests.